The world's most expensive spice comes from this flower, and it takes about 150,000 of them to make just 1 kilo of saffron, a kilo that costs $3,000. Here in Kashmir, saffron is an important part of the economy and cultural identity. It has many uses, including
religious purposes, for pharmacological purposes, for culinary, as a spice, as a mood enhancer.
But Kashmir's saffron industry is facing a crisis. In recent years, farms hit with drought and rising temperatures have lost 65% of their normal yields.
खेत पे हम देखते थे कि पूरा कवर्ड होता था सैफरन से, ठीक है, आज खाली खाली सा ज़मीन पड़ा है.
And the supply chain is riddled with imitation saffron.
Gardenia flower or safflower is being sold as saffron, corn silk or tissue paper, plastics, but that is not saffron at all.
The Indian government launched initiatives to try and help, but the farmers we spoke to say they haven't been enough. All of this combined has left farmers frustrated and driven some out of the industry. We went to Kashmir to see if there's a future for the region's red gold. Saffron comes from these 3 tiny strands, called stigmas, found in this purple flower, the Crocus sativus. The crocus can only be grown in a handful of locations. Kashmir is one of the only places in India with the right conditions to grow saffron, and farmers have grown it here for 3,500 years.
स्पाइस तो ये बिल्कुल इसके मुकाबले में कोई स्पाइस नहीं है.
That's Ashik. His family's been growing crocus flowers here for nearly a century.
और ये बीज अंदर से है, तो ये अभी उसमें है कि हमें दूर से पता चलता है कि यहाँ पे बीज है इसका सैफरन, ठीक है. फिर जो है फूल इस बीज में से आता है.
Once planted, the flowers need about 2 years to mature before they can produce good saffron. Come October, Ashik heads out to hand harvest the delicate purple flowers. Almost everyone helping is related to him. Since the flowers don't bloom all at once, just 5 years ago, Ashik could harvest for an entire month. But his crop is shrinking. This year, with fewer flowers, the harvest ended in just 6 days.
इससे पहले हम जाते थे 10 बार 15 बार, मतलब उतनी, मतलब मैं कह रहा हूँ 5-6 साल पहले, ठीक है. अब ज़्यादा अब कम हो रहा है.
Ashik's farm is not unique. He's getting hit with the same climate and political issues affecting the entire region.
Climate change is definitely having an effect.
The temperature, earlier it used to be a bit cold this time around the season when the saffron harvest would take place. But now it's very warm, so that has affected saffron badly.
Saffron needs cold soil to grow, yet Kashmir's temperature has risen by 1.45 degrees Celsius in the last 20 years.
And the rains, we had very few rains in the last, I think, 4 or 5 years.
When the rains do come, they're more intense. In 2014, heavy flooding washed away the saffron crop, and saffron farmers are still reeling from the severe drought in 2018 that dried out the soil.
ये क्वालिटी में उतना ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट ही नहीं पड़ता है, बट क्वांटिटी में इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है. और टाइम पे बारिश न होने की वजह से प्रोडक्टिविटी कम हो जाती है.
Then there are the political issues. Kashmir is a disputed region between India and Pakistan. But India administers the part where saffron grows. In 2019, the Indian government implemented an internet and communication blackout. That, coupled with the pandemic lockdowns the following year, caused saffron farmers and the supply chain to suffer. Over the past decade, saffron production was so low, the government launched the National Saffron Mission. The goal of the $53 million mission was to revive the saffron crop. It promised to rejuvenate saffron bulbs and build irrigation systems to fight drought. But many farmers say the mission hasn't helped as promised.
बहुत सारे पैसे खर्च हो गए, मिलियंस खर्च हो गए, ठीक है. आई थिंक जितना मेरा एक्सपीरियंस है रिगार्डिंग सैफरन की, वो सब फेल हो गए.
Of the 124 wells the National Saffron Mission promised to dig, the government says 121 were installed. Ashik's farm got one of those wells, but he says it never worked.
उन्होंने दिया था कि सैफरन मिशन बिल्कुल लगाया हुआ है, जिस दिन से लगाया हुआ है तब से ऐसे ही पड़ा है.
ये आप देखिए ना, मतलब जब से लगाया तब से यहीं पे है, ऐसे ही है, कोई ये नहीं है.
And farmers had to pay for these irrigation systems.
5,000 रुपये मैं त्रो मान से मैं आशि तकरीबन 2.5 लाख रुपये यमन निश कमन निश एग्रीकल्चर वाले निश मोन 2.5 लाख रुपये मैं त्रो अगर जमींदस 3 कनालन में 3 पर 15 गो सोद 2.5 लाख रुपये मोन ना दिवान इरिगेशन वनकसन आब तो ना दिवान तम पोंस वापस.
Suhail, who works on the Saffron Mission, says that's because when the government tried to install irrigation systems,
We faced stern resistance from certain farmers, because they felt if we cut open the soil, it would somehow deplete the quality of saffron.
The mission claims saffron production has rebounded.
This would not have been possible if National Mission on Saffron would not have been there.
But these farmers aren't experiencing the production growth the government is reporting.
आज खाली खाली सा ज़मीन पड़ा है.
Yet Ashik has continued his family's saffron tradition. In the evenings after harvesting,
सारी फैमिली एक साथ बैठ के ये रेड स्टिग्मा, जिसको हम रेड गोल्ड कहते हैं, इसका जो है वो निकालते हैं.
the stigmas are fragile, so they have to be removed by hand.
ये मेरे पापा है, अभी हम ये कर रहे हैं. ये ऑर्डर आया है, 200-250 ग्राम का ऑर्डर आया है, तो अभी हम वही बना रहे हैं.
Then the stigma's less valuable yellow tips are cut off.
ये जो प्रोसेस है, इसमें से वो जो लवर पार्ट है वो रेड स्टिग्मा का वो बाहर निकलता है, वो ये आगे गिर जाता है, ठीक है, और रेड स्टिग्मा इसी में पड़ जाता है.
The red stigma houses the characteristic compounds that give saffron its bitter taste and aroma. Once it's dried, the saffron can be packaged up. It takes Ashik and his dad 2.5 hours to process enough saffron for just this tiny container. The amount of work required contributes to the spice's high price.
फार्मर ब्रोकर को बेचता है, ब्रोकर जो है वो फर्म को बेचता है, राइट. और फर्म है कि उनके पास रजिस्ट्रेशन होती है, वो ऑल ओवर इंडिया बेच सकते हैं.
15 years ago, Ashik's family could make $4,000 for its yearly saffron harvest. Today, Ashik brings in just about $900 a season. Once it hits the market, Kashmiri saffron faces another problem: fake saffron.
What is sold in the name of saffron is illegally dyed corn silk or tissue paper, plastics which are not fit for human consumption and made to look identical to saffron.
Counterfeiters have also turned to safflower to pass off as saffron, but the plant has a completely different taste. Because of saffron's high price, counterfeiters can make a hefty chunk of change.
A layman cannot differentiate visually.
A source of much of the misleading products is Iran, which produces 90% of the world's saffron.
People may use pure Kashmir saffron adulterated with maybe Iranian saffron, which comes to a very cheap rates to India.
Iranian saffron can cost 48% less than Kashmir's, which is considered more aromatic and nutritious.
Overall, it's bad for the whole saffron industry and especially for the Kashmir saffron farmers that their name gets tarnished.
To help raise prices, 2 years ago, the government's saffron mission created this trading center called the Saffron Park.
We are the guardians or custodians of the GI of Kashmir saffron.
The Saffron Park's main goal was to help identify and stop fake saffron. Instead of selling on the open market, farmers could now drop off their saffron harvest at the center for storing and authentication.
We do not accept saffron in dried form in this trade center. We only accept fresh flowers to be brought to the collection center so that we ensure that the flowers are grown in the fields and saffron farms of Kashmir.
In the lab, scientists can test to make sure the saffron is real. They first do a water test.
Threads of saffron are put into water or milk. It should give very slowly release a yellow color and not an instant coloring of red or orange color. And that is a purity test for saffron.
But they also use machines to look for levels of saffron's characteristic compounds. If it's proven fake, it's thrown out. And if it's real saffron, it gets packaged up with a GI tag.
Geographic Indication Certificate. Saffron of India is the only saffron in the world who has been given this certificate.
Just like champagne only comes from a specific part of France.
And GI tagged saffron should be taken as an authentic, pure Kashmiri saffron.
The center then markets the saffron and sells it online through its new auction site.
Every saffron bottle is traceable to the farmer and his land. It has been a very successful model of e-auction that we have tried.
Muzamil says saffron that would normally sell for $1,300 on the open market can sell for $3,000 through the center.
It is 2.5 times what they used to get. Then they have a channel. They don't have any middlemen. They just grow it and then sell it off and go back to their homes with their money.
Suhail said the center has been a success and works with 35% of Kashmir's saffron farmers, or about 6,000 families.
We are doing good. I'm damn sure we are building on their trust. We are giving them economic stability. We are giving them a better value of their produce.
But not everyone's convinced. Bashik said he doesn't trust giving his crop to a center. The industry's woes have driven some farmers in Kashmir to leave the saffron business altogether.
Wünkeşen zemindaras amuk fayda. Zemindaro kya sun zemin trayit.
काम को छोड़ के दूसरे काम को पकड़ना पड़ा है।
6,000 families have left the saffron industry. Reports say many have shifted to apple and almond growing.
हम उस चीज़ से बाहर आएंगे, ठीक है ना, तब जाके हम यही कह रहे हैं कि हमारा इंटरेस्ट जो है इस चीज़ से ख़त्म हो चुका है।
The National Saffron Mission hopes to turn things around.
We have had major setbacks. We are fighting it. There should be acknowledgement of our efforts. If everything goes well, 2 to 3 years, this mission would be done and dusted.
Because ultimately, the goal among farmers and the government is the same: to save Kashmiri saffron.
Because this is a cultural identity of Kashmir and especially the people of Pampur. I feel very proud, to be a part of the area which grows saffron. But the thing is that, the production is declining. It really disheartens me.
Everything is at stake as far as this crop we grow is concerned. We cannot let go of our heritage. We cannot.
हम दुआ करते हैं कि मतलब हमारा जो है जिसको हम मतलब कि प्रोडक्ट अच्छा निकले, ऊपर वाले से ये दुआ करते हैं।